Hey everybody, we're back on ACL. It's episode 6. We've got plenty to talk about. The Tigers season keeps on rolling. We've got the NBA playoffs. That first round is really coming to a head right now, getting exciting. A couple of seasons, actually, couple of series have actually already concluded. Same thing with the NHL playoffs that are tracking along the same line. So we've got a full show ahead of us. ACL, we've got Alex Deimel, RA. We've got Christian Peck-Dimit right here, the C, and we are forever cut off here. We're a torn ligament.
Yeah, that ligament's just dead forever. A busy week, obviously, with the draft and everything. Was not really. It was funny. I was sitting there watching it, and by the time the Cowboys pick got around, I was actually, I think I had to go do something upstairs. I should go switch my laundry, whatever the hell I was doing. And all of a sudden, I hear and the Lions have traded up, and I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Get downstairs! What's going on? But obviously, and then we talked about it earlier, but 700,000 people, just an absolute record shatter. We got to talk about that. And then if we have time to our debate topic of the week, which we'll keep until we get there if we have time.
Well, I think we should start with the NFL draft. There were sort of a slew of surprises outside of the top 3 due to some press leakage with Jaden Daniels and some just assumptions, I guess, that turned out sort of all to be true. There really weren't any surprises top 3. Bears take Caleb Williams, Commanders Jaden Daniels, and then Pats Drake May. Even Marvin Harrison at number 4 was a big surprise. And then you start getting into some of the question marks and some of, because they weren't mocked this way and everyone assumed they were going to go that way, into some more things that people tend to analyze a little bit deeper, find some things wrong with them, including and particularly that 8th pick. I know we were talking about prior to the show starting a winner and a loser of this draft. I think there's a pretty clear one on the losers category. That's the Atlanta Falcons. Spent $180 million on Kirk Cousins for a win now quarterback on a roster that wasn't entirely this way, but more or less needed a quarterback, and only that under center, to jump up a peg in terms of competing this coming year and in the next few years. And then instead of using that 8th pick to grab some help, maybe Rome Odunze, who was sneakily still on the board for them to grab, anyone else, an O-tackle, a weapon for him to throw to, nothing. They went with a 24-year-old quarterback, Michael Penix, who will be ancient by the time that his 4-year contract is done. That is, by the time Kirk's 4-year contract is done and Michael gets a chance to start here. I need some explanation, because I had a co-host on a morning show I do who was trying to give me this whole thing about how it's explainable and Kirk is injury prone and this whole thing, and just none of it made any sense. I have yet to hear a good argument for this pick.
I don't think there is one. I genuinely don't, because if you're going to go with the injury prone argument, how many times did Penix get injured in college? Both of his legs were snapped. He fucked up his hip. He was
back.
He was completely just torn into shreds at the end of the national championship, hobbling off, holding his hip, holding every part of his body, which was practically just falling apart. So if you're going to go with the whole argument of, oh, it's, Kirk is injury prone, your backup is just as, if not more, and a rookie. So it's also it's bad enough when you have to see the videos of a GM of a team. And I don't think it was ever actually confirmed, but it's pretty easy to guess that this is what was going on, that he was explaining the pick to the owner. But I don't, it's not like the Falcons are a perfect team. There's a reason they had the 8th pick. There's a reason they had a top 10 pick, because they suck. They had talent, but they are not a complete team. They are far from a complete team. Mm-hmm. And it's things like this that leave a team picking in the top 10 of a draft every year for a long time. We know about it as Lions fans. And I genuinely don't understand it when there was also just so much other talent, like, beyond him. I mean, you could have gotten, Fuaga at 14, which the Saints did. You could have picked up
Mhm.
an edge. Like, I don't know much about Falcons football, admittedly, but, like, they don't strike me as a team that's incredibly defensively, and there were a lot of defensive players that came off the board. They could have gone and gotten a Dallas Turner or a Jared Verse or something like that to help out, but they must really like what they see, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that Penix isn't a good quarterback because you and I both know that's wrong. Like, healthy, he is
He's a gunner.
an incredible quarterback, but that's just it seems like the wrong position to put your team in.
Mhm.
No, I don't understand it, and maybe it's because I haven't done my due diligence, but you're kinda just sitting there like, "What in the hell is going on?"
So they're an obvious loser of this draft. Because I'm out here in Denver area, I've got a lot of chance to analyze the Broncos draft. I think overall they did pretty well. I think in terms of first round stuff, I'm still not a huge fan of the Bo Nix pick, not because of who Bo Nix is and what he can become, but I think the value at number 12. Did you have any other losers to sneak in there who you thought that maybe should have been a little bit better in that first round or really draft overall?
Not too many. I I honestly thought there was a chance that Harrison went top 3. I thought there might be a shot that one of these teams is like, "Hey, I mean, look at the Patriots in the past couple years and how drafting quarterbacks has gone." I was like, maybe they're just like, "Let's think beyond that for a second, wait a while." I also don't know what, like, up and coming quarterbacks they're gonna find in the next 5, 10 years, and maybe it was like Drake May or nothing. But, I think the Cardinals, as much as I hate to say it, got an absolute stud. I
Mhm.
even as a diehard Michigan fan, you have to admit that Harrison's a beast. Um, I don't know about too many other lure there wasn't really much else that surprised
Mm.
me. I did think the really funny thing was, I don't know if you remember, but watching the Rose Bowl, the play where it was a reverse back, so they threw it to Donovan Edwards, went back to JJ, then went downfield, and he got
Yep.
wrecked, turf
Mhm.
all in the face.
Oh, they're teammates now. Yeah.
Their teammates, they were both first round draft picks. Dallas Turner was the other first round pick by the Vikings, who just kinda came out of nowhere, in the draft, obviously trading with the Jaguars to get him at 17 and then traded up 1 pick. Were the Jets threatening to take him, I wonder? That didn't make a lot of sense to me. Um, I mean, I guess they don't have Zach Wilson. Maybe they wanted to go the Falcons route with, an injury-prone quarterback or whatnot, but
Much older is Aaron Rodgers, obviously.
yes, absolutely, absolutely,
Did you
but
have a winner then? Would it be the Vikings?
yeah, I'd say without a doubt the Vikings. Having moving up in the draft to get Dallas Turner too, who is, I think, pretty much an underrated edge. I don't know if it's necessarily that I call them a winner, but more just shocked that, as you and I were talking about earlier, the Lions did not get an edge, which, as we talked about last week, was like their one big necessity in our minds, needing someone to take the pressure off of Hutch. And there were just so many by the end, but they were all taken. Like, I'd say the top three, to be fair, were taken, and really the only good ones were taken before the first round, or
Edge
before
rushers, that is?
yeah, so, I mean, you had Turner, you had Jared Verse, and you had Chop Robinson all gone
Mhm.
before it got to the Lions' first round pick, and that was even after they traded up with Dallas. So, I I am kinda I'm excited. It seems like, um, Brad just loves his Alabama boys. He just
There
loves his Alabama boys, I guess.
Hey, I did have so my 2 winners were the Bears and the Vikings, which stinks that they were in the same, or are in the same division, as we are, but Tyrion Arnold was and is the best corner in that draft class and the best corner on the board, period. And I think that was my sneaky winner as well of this draft is anyone that wanted a defensive player. The run on offensive dudes obviously was historic. Saw a wild number of quarterbacks, a record number off the board early. Everyone knows that by now. But I think what people are underrating is the fact that anyone, the Lions first and foremost, but the Vikings fit into that category as well. Anyone who wanted a defensive player got a stud in the mid-20s because they were just all available. The number one corner on the board at number 24 is ridiculous. Granted, that took a little bit of idiocy from the Eagles trading up to take
So
Quinion Mitchell.
do you think there's any like argument for taking Mitchell above him? Like
Above him, no. I don't think he'll be bad. I think he's probably the number 2. I think some had number 3 corner on the board. Taking him above Arnold is a little ridiculous. But again, I'm not mad at it. The Lions got the number 21, had to trade up a little bit to do it. I think sort of as soon as the Eagles took Mitchell, because they were really the two teams that needed help in their secondary more than any other teams in the league were the Eagles and the Lions. And I think when Brad Holmes and the crew all wearing their Campbell jerseys in that war room saw Mitchell go off the board, said, damn it, if we can't trade up to get him, we're going to have to. And they did, and they got their guy. Obviously, I think it's a great pick. I really don't have an argument over the Eagles. I think corners can go a little bit, can be a little bit more hit and miss. And so I get if you had a better grade on the guy or something like that. But it really seemed like every single draft outlet possible has this dude, Arnold, that is, at number 1 on their boards. And more than that, I don't know if you saw this. He's a stand-up dude. His character is off the charts. There was a video that went viral of him talking with a reporter who dug up this story. Shout out to whoever that is. I'm not sure which reporter in particular it was. It was a Detroit-based guy talking about how Arnold spent his time in high school helping out the janitor of the school clean up toilets and hallways and all this shit. Anyone, and we all have, hopefully, at one time that has been a high schooler, knows that in middle school guys, you're more, it's all in your head. It's all image. It's all this shit for you to, especially as what I'm sure was a star athlete in high school, to say, fuck all that. Fuck who, I'm going to get on my hands and knees and clean a toilet. I love, A, that there are people still out there like that this upcoming generation, and B, that we got one of them in Detroit.
I mean, it is obviously a city of hardworking people. And I also think anybody who's, like you said, willing to get on your hands and knees and just show that dedication as much as it can come off as one of those feel good stories that make somebody look good. You do just kind of have to appreciate at least from a parenting perspective. And I'm not going to get too far into that whole philosophy, but that's definitely a good omen of just that, kind of volunteering and sheer work that it puts into it. I do want to go back though for a second, because I have just been I don't know what I think about the Drake May pick at number 3.
Really?
As in,
Okay.
I get if you're going to look at it, let's just look at his 2022 resume. ACC Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Won the Sean Alexander Award as the top freshman in the nation, was a finalist for the Manning Award for the nation's top QB. But then goes to 2023, was second team All CC or All ACC, excuse me. 24 TDs, 9 interceptions. Not awful, but definitely a downward trajectory in a conference that wasn't great you can make the argument that Florida State should have been in the playoff, but was not a great competitive conference, was not a great competitive team. And you just took the leader of that guy at the number 3 overall pick when 2 quarterbacks that were playing much more competitive games, had to prove it over and over. Maybe not Bo Nix necessarily with, losing to.
You're saying Penix or JJ?
Penix or JJ, yeah. I just don't see it. It has to just be the tangibles and the fundamentals. But
Not the fundamentals, that's for sure, dude. Drake May, the one thing everyone knew about, the one thing everyone doesn't know about him is the tangibles and those sort of, actually, is he a good quarterback? The thing that people were wondering about, or the thing that people do know about him, is his measurables, and the talent is off the charts. This kid is a project quarterback because the quarterback room in New England is shit, frankly. He'll probably start day one, but I think in most situations a coach wouldn't want a guy like him to. He's a project quarterback. He's going to be
He's also
slow
young.
coming on. Huh?
He is young, dude. He's a
Oh,
redshirt
yeah.
sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
He's not. It's not like he's been there forever. It's not like he's been doing this at least with the big dogs for a long time. Like he's pretty experienced. I don't know. I would be pretty scared. I wouldn't hit the panic button, but I'd be scared if I was a Pats fan.
I think you're only well, let's start with the fact that he's uber talented, can make any throw in the world, super tall, doesn't use them a ton, but has decent legs, moves well in the pocket. But he doesn't have good footwork. We haven't seen him do it against high-level talent. All of the project quarterback things that come to mind. The only thing I'd be worried about if you're a Pats fan is if you almost felt like you had to take May at number 3 because he's the best quarterback available, because you're drafting number 3 in one of the best, seemingly best quarterback drafts in a long time. What have we learned over the past few years in the NFL that maybe more people have known for a long time? A quarterback does not snap your fingers and change the trajectory of a franchise. You
Especially a rookie.
around him, especially a rookie. A quarterback cannot come in, a rookie quarterback cannot come in fresh off the draft and just make you amazing right away. We saw that. Obviously, people are quick to hate on Bryce Young, the Alabama kid playing in Carolina this year, but he's got no talent around him at all. You watched him go into that situation as an uber talented kid, very hardworking, and you watch one of, if not probably the third worst offensive line in football in front of him just actively attempt to murder him. And his best target this year, 1,000-year-old Adam Thielen. The point be the don't get me started on the run game and Miles Sanders, his injuries and being performing under expectations. You can't just throw a quarterback, especially a project one like May, onto a roster that is frankly worthy of the number 3 pick, and then just expect them to snap their fingers, wave a wand, and you're amazing again. So I think it's about managing expectations more than anything if you're a Pats fan.
Yeah. So I guess I think we've gone over winners and losers. I do want to quickly, obviously we're kind of still in the heat of the NBA, the first round of the NBA playoffs, some teams finishing up, some teams being done. I did see obviously the Lakers they're done, they're eliminated. I think we've kind of all accepted the fact that LeBron can kind of do whatever the hell he wants to now. If you're in his shoes, are you leaving LA?
It's a good question. I was not.
You weren't expecting that one, were you?
No, that's a good question. I don't know where would be better. And I think it all sort of hinges on a couple of things having to do with his son. And this is sort of a cop-out answer.
Oh, yeah.
But realistically,
He wants to play with him, right?
he wants to play with him, and it depends on how badly. Because the Lakers have, as of, I think, yesterday, it was reported that the Lakers are making very clear that they will be more than willing to draft Bronny if LeBron resigns to sort of keep it together, help him fulfill his dreams, obviously sell some Lakers tickets and more jerseys, etc. So I think it sort of hinges on how badly, if you're LeBron, you want to play with your son. And from that, what teams are then willing to make the leap that it seems the Lakers are in actually taking him, actually taking Bronny. Because by all means, LeBron James Jr. will be a great NBA talent after 2 more years of college.
Yeah.
But he's not ready now, but he's sort of being peer pressured into this where realistically he can sit on the end of the bench in an NBA roster so that he can play with his dad right now. I think if you're LeBron, it all sort of hinges on that.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I don't I don't know, man. Again, to each his own. I'd be scared shitless if you were telling me I'd play a professional sport with my dad, who's been like the face of the league, like 20 years. There's just a lot of
It's a lot
pressure.
of pressure, and who do you have to blame for that pressure? LeBron fucking James, who for years has said nothing to the media until a couple of months ago when he sort of felt that he was putting too much pressure on his kid. Surprise, surprise. Had spent years saying, I want to play with my son. I'm not going to retire until I play with my son. Fine. I'm not knocking that dream at all. There are the number of people that can physically complete that dream, let alone have it at all, is very, very short. That list, very short. And he's uber talented. His son is too, all this stuff. But it's a ridiculous amount of pressure to put on a kid who now is, I'm not going to say he's ruining his career by any means, but he's certainly getting it started on the wrong foot, I think, coming into the league this year when clearly he's not ready.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then I guess aside from that, obviously I think, I mean, my mind, Boston runs away with it tonight. Then we've got Mavs Clippers tonight as well. Is your pick of the week basketball this week?
It is. And you remember my pick of the week from a couple of weeks ago was to see that Mavs Clippers series go to 7.
Oh,
I don't know if I
yeah.
would make that same pick right now, but I am hanging on to because I made it already. I'm definitely sticking by it.
You just need 2 more games. You need one each. That's doable.
It's a lot to ask out of a Clippers team that needs its stars shining bright with Kawhi out.
Yeah.
Regardless, let's not get down a rabbit hole here because I've got a pick of the week on the docket right now. Bet responsibly. Don't bet what you can't lose. The Denver Nuggets to win the chip. I think a lot of people see them repeating. They're not a favorite betting wise because of how good the Celtics look, and rightly so. They should be favorites. But I've got money right now in 2 separate bets on the Nuggets at around these odds, and I'd guess that unless that Timberwolves series goes south, which it may well do, they're going to stick around this line right here, which is plus 260. I'm hammering that thing. I think the Nuggets have all of the experience to repeat. Yes, it looks damn cool when Jamal hits game winners. Yes, it looks damn cool to read a stat line that reads 30, 20, 10, which he almost had again. He had like 25, 20, and 9, I think, for Nikola Jokic. But I think if you actually watch these games all the way through, they have the chemistry, they have the intangibles, they have a ridiculously elite shooter in Michael Porter. I think they've got it all. Nuggets plus 260, winning the chip. What are you trying to show me here?
I just got a notification on my phone. Billboard outside Crypto.com arena trolls Mavericks ahead of Game 5. The billboard is a sky scanner or sky scanner. Never heard of that before. But it just says Dallas to Cancun. Well played.
Is
Clipper.
it though? It's sort of just
I've
sort
never
of a
seen a billboard
Cancun.
like that. I mean, you often see the ones that are like highway ones outside the arenas. They're walking in. It's
True.
kind of that's pretty sickening. But I guess we'll
Hey,
see.
Harden's turning back the clock. He's looking like we just saw that game 4, by the way, Clippers Mavs game 4. If you're not doing anything right now, or wait till the show is over, uh, go put this on pause if you're listening to it afterwards or watching it. Go watch the fourth quarter highlights from Mavs Clippers game 4. It's 2017 again. We were watching Kyrie and Harden trade buckets like it's 2017-18, and I'm all the way fucking here for it. I'm more
Oh,
than happy to watch the new face of the NBA take over, and Ant Edwards and all of these guys that are sort of taking the reins from Curry and from LeBron and from KD. I think that's awesome for the league. But at the same time, the little kid that grew up watching Harden drop 40-piece triple doubles and watching Kyrie have these crazy finishes for the Cavs, it was sort of nice to watch that happen again. And it was literally those two going at each other's throats, bucket for bucket. It was a ton of fun to watch.
I mean, the nostalgia just floods back when you hear stuff like that. It's like kind of our era of the NBA. Now, I will say the other league, obviously currently in the midst of playoffs, is the NHL. I mean, I think everybody saw Caps sweeping the Caps getting swept by the Rangers. My big thing is after you watch those first two games, I don't think anyone thought Dallas had a chance in that series against Vegas, and it's 2-2 tied now. I think they run away with it pretty easily with how they've been playing. I think this is a different Dallas team, and I think this is also a very different Vegas team than we've seen in years past. It's not the same Vegas team that has knocked the Stars out the past couple of years.
Mm.
So I definitely see that ending in 7. I think Vegas gets one more, but I think Dallas takes it. And then we have the Oilers Kings tonight, which I do believe will be the finale. It's game 5. I think Edmonton just takes it.
Mhm.
And then the Leafs are cruising back. I know I should technically, I don't know, because it's two teams that Wings fans are supposed to hate. But if I had to pick one, I hate Boston more. And I'm going to roll with the Leafs, who won in overtime yesterday and have to win the next 2 to come back. But
And you've got them winning.
yes, I do still have them winning. I'm less confident than I was in that pick. I'm unfortunately not in your shoes, where it's kind of just about smooth sailing. But I will say this week's pick of the week is McDavid over 3.5 shots tonight. I
Nope.
think he gets it done. I think the Oilers offensive pressure just gets to the Kings tonight and they shut them down. So
Okay.
it'll be good.
I like it. Even though Boston sort of has Toronto's number, you're sticking with Toronto coming back here?
Yeah, I mean, I did make the pick. I guess I can't
Just riding with it?
I can't take it back, but I think Boston has looked pretty scary. I did like the Maple Leafs to seem to have a bit more fight in them than they have in the past, especially without Austin Matthews. I don't know if that was like a good or bad thing chemistry wise, but they were able to shut down a pretty tough Boston offense, which looked pretty good. And then the poor Islanders, man. The poor Islanders, I mean, just getting like two different games where there were 2 goals scored by the Hurricanes in like less than a minute. And it's like all of a sudden they're still showing the highlights from one goal. They get off of the highlights, they pan back, and they just scored again. And if you like go watch like the reactions from Islanders fans, your heart snaps.
Mm.
I mean, my heart snapped weeks ago when the Wings decided not to make it, but we won't go there. We won't go there.
Alex's pick, by the way, was from Kings Oilers. Oilers minus 1.5 goals right now. That's plus 130 to take that. How do you feel?
I'd say it's a closer game. I mean, I think like teams that are down 3-1 have a little bit of fight in them usually.
Mm.
Not that that's concrete evidence where like that's a decision whether or not to take it. But I wouldn't argue. I wouldn't take the spread. I would take Oilers money line. I think
That's
they
what I was
should.
going to say.
Okay.
It's down at minus 196.
We've got more of a series out of Preds Canucks. I thought that one was going to be easy. It does seem much more lopsided this time around for both NBA and NHL. Not as many best of 7 so far, which I'm sure we'll see more of down the line. But these first rounds seem to be, easy blowouts so far.
Mm.
So I guess
out of our second round matchups that are either set or likely, because I know we've mentioned it quickly, in the NBA, Nuggets Timberwolves is going to be cinema. I think that's going to be an awesome series. Is there something like that you're eyeing on the rink where you're looking on the ice and saying this series in the second round, even if it's not set yet, it's probably going to happen,
so
is just going to be awesome?
I would say if Boston wins this series, they'll go to play the Panthers. That one will be intense. I'd say that one goes to at least 6 games. It's either going to be one of those where it goes to 7, or it's just going to be one team just has no shot and plays just like shit for the entire series. It's going to be either completely on one end or the opposite. Either way, it'll be entertaining hockey. And I also think, if Dallas pulls through and takes down Vegas, that Colorado series will be entertaining. If Vegas wins that one, I think Colorado sweeps them easily. I just don't think this Vegas team is nearly as good as the ones from the past, at least playoff teams. But I think those 2 series especially will be pretty good. But yeah, it does seem like in both of these leagues, like there's been much more clear define. It seems to be easier to define how things go, at least like in your winners, with maybe like 1 or 2 series Like,
I don't think that's the case, to be honest, in
really?
the NBA. I think you have Boston beat the Tar, or is about to beat the Tar out of Miami. Obviously, no Jimmy. We sort of knew that was going to be the case. Same thing, OKC over the Pelicans. I sort of think the list of team, other than the sweep of Nuggets over Lakers, I sort of think the list of teams you really think thought that those series were going to be short ends right there. I mean, Sixers could realistically come back from 3-1 against the Knicks. They've already got one of the 3 games they'll need. Same thing with Pacers Bucks. Pacers were up 3-1. Bucks could in the next 2 games get Dame and Giannis back. I think you are sweating in your boots if you're a Pacers fan, one of which, good friend of the show, Luke Morey, was at Game 4, and I was texting back and forth with him. He is well aware, as I think most Indiana fans should be, that that team is weak as hell if the Bucks can get healthy quickly. They got what they needed in Game 5. That was big games from Portis and from Middleton, 29-point double-doubles for the both of them. If they can get Dame back this game, find a way to win, get Giannis back next game, that's realistically a 3-1 comeback. You're going to get this Mavs-Clippers series probably going to 7. At the very least, you're getting Sixers and Knicks going to 6 as well. I think that we are seeing more blowouts than you'd like, but I think we're not seeing nearly as many lopsided series, I think, as people think there are. Cleveland, Orlando, I mean, that game was awesome last night. Mobley game-sealing block to get a Cavs win, but that thing could go to 7 just as easily. No one has lost at home in that series yet. I think you have 3 series. I named them earlier with Denver, with OKC, and with Boston that were clear-cut favorites, and all of them, almost all of them, are decided already, and they will be by the end of tonight, by the end of the recording of this episode. But I think everything else, realistically, could still go on for a long time and be very hard-fought series.
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess that kind of takes down my argument. And again, you're more the basketball guy, but I do think that's also, at least from the hockey standpoint, like those first series can be pretty just brutal and cutthroat, where unless it's like, if there is an upset, it is a upset sweep half the time. But we shall see. Obviously, just a lot of entertaining playoffs, which in a month from now when we're still doing this will suck because it's going to be all over. But I guess we'll enjoy it while it lasts.
How do we feel then about switching over to the Diamond and the Tigers, who lost the first part of that doubleheader to the Cardinals the other day, then grabbed the nightcapper, grabbed a win earlier today as well? I mean, it continues to be an AL Central that is, at least in my mind, surprising. The Royals are playing phenomenal baseball. The Guardians continue to do the same. How do we feel about where we're sitting? I mean, 13 losses right now. Royals, Tigers, and Twins all have 13 losses, all tied in the middle of that AL Central.
So I guess just focusing on the Tigers, I do want to say that first loss was more frustrating than you can imagine. I mean, Jack Flaherty comes out, has the game of his fucking life, 14 strikeouts, strikes out the side like 2 or 3 times, is just unbelievable. And the bats just aren't there. And to make it even more frustrating, they just all of a sudden decide to come alive in the second game. And obviously, like, you're facing different pitching, like it's gonna go up and down. But I'm sitting there, and obviously I love a win yesterday, but I'm sitting there like, where the hell was this an hour ago?
Yeah.
Where the hell were 11 runs on 14 hits in the first game? Like, I don't, that blew my mind. Obviously Riley Green's still playing well. Bullpen, I said from the start of the year, the bullpen looks great, and not that it doesn't look great anymore, but Shelby Miller was not the hero yesterday in the slightest, which stunk. Obviously, I thought they took Matt Manning out a little bit more. I would have given him another batter or two. I know bases got loaded and they were worried about that, but still, I would have given it some time. I did take the under in that second game after watching the first one. I was like, bats aren't coming alive today, and then that was dead by the fucking fifth inning. So thanks a lot, guys. Um, but no, I think the bats, they came alive yesterday, but you can't just rely on one aspect of the game forever. It's one of those things where if pitching is great, you do need to have the bats to back it up. They cannot carry the weight for the entire season, and you can't just, as cool as it is to have people like Wenceel Perez hit 2 homers in a game yesterday. I do want to also note from separate sides of the plate. I think first left-handed, second right-handed. It could be wrong, but you got to have consistent hitting. And again, like you can't have it all. I get it. Like I'm not expecting this to be a Dodgers team. It's not like full of studs, but it is, I think, equally frustrating when the pitching is just on fire and then there's just no hitting to support it. Or maybe there's one or two guys that are consistently hitting. Like Mark Canha has been doing pretty well. But Torque especially has just been a disappointment. I don't really know how else to put it. And I could go on, but it's like they'll have their moments. Some will go on hot streaks that are followed just by straight, just ice cold. And then some just, never cease to amaze me with how much they'll struggle hitting. But at least, there haven't been too many torque errors in the past couple days. So, that'll at least help with the heart rate.
It does seem like the Tigers throughout the short part of the season that we've gotten so far have gotten one or the other, so to speak. And despite being only a half game back from the Royals for third, or half game back from second behind the Royals in right now, and having just won a series over them, the run differential shows a stark drop off. Plus 45 for the Guardians at the top of the division, plus 50 for the Royals, plus 45, plus 50, and then plus 10 for the Tigers. Do you still have them sort of where you predicted at a wild card team this year?
I mean, as it's been, I still am of the opinion that it can always be too early to tell. I mean, they're in that slot right now, it looks like, but I think we'll see. Like, this is a pretty competitive American League this year. I mean, you've got, great teams, you got stellar teams and teams that could always just come out and surprise you in all 3 divisions. So I think if this run differential keeps up where it's like you're only, you're barely, I mean, they're fourth in runs scored. They're second in runs allowed. You can't win without scoring runs. As much as defense wins championships, that's all it boils down to is you cannot win without scoring runs. When guys get on, you got to knock them in. It cannot just be one hitter carrying the load. And that's what it's been so far. So that is what concerns me. But again, it's always too early. I know we're only a month in. I think this Yankee series will be a good test. Obviously, some good pitching, some incredible hitting out of that team, who's holding down the second spot in the AL East. So we shall see. I think next week will be a good testament, though. We're past the start of the season. I think it'll be to see where guys can shine, where they can't, yada yada. So, I'm definitely in the who knows spot as of right now, which unfortunately with baseball is one of those spots where you can be in that literally until
for a long time.
So we shall see. We shall see. I will say the more frustrating part is the fact that Bally and Comcast are in a dispute right now. So not sure what I'm gonna do about finding a way to watch games, but we shall see.
Blackout, baby. Gotta love it.
That's wonderful, wonderful thing.
We'll have plenty more for you next week. The NBA and the NHL playoffs continue, and as we talked about, the second round in the NHL and the finish here to the first are going to be very exciting. Tiger season marches on until then.
Do we tell them we have a bit of a surprise for next week, or do we hold that?
We hold that until we've got it secure. Come on now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Keep it in the bag.
Fair enough.
We've got some hopefully exciting guests coming up for you as well. Until then, it's Alex Deimel, it's Christian Peck-Dimit with ACL.